Welcome to toy-polloi. No Legos were harmed in the making of this video.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and in today's video we're going to be repairing the hoop that should be on the top of this vintage Masters of the Universe Trap Jaw head, because it seems to be something that is always broken. In fact, I have 4 versions of Trap Jaw here, of which only one of them actually has the hoop attached, and I've got a couple of spare heads as well, both of which were broken. So it just seems to be one of those things that if you pick up a Trap Jaw, more often than not the little hoop on the top of his head will be missing. So what do I mean by the hoop? Well, let's take a look at Trap Jaw himself. So here we have a Trap Jaw with an unbroken hoop. You can see there's this little hole on the top of his head, which I guess you're supposed to be able to put some string through or something like that and then slide him down on a sort of zip wire type thing. That is what he should look like, but more often than not, he looks like this, where that piece is completely missing. And I've wanted to work out a way of fixing this for a long time. In fact, I've sort of had a few goes over the years. I have one here that I very crudely did a long time back. I just put a little sort of hook and eye type piece in. So that's actually a piece of metal screwed into the top of his head. And it does a reasonable job, but it doesn't look anything like the original. So what I want to do today is make something that looks like the original one.
Hold or face the evil hook of Trap Jaw.
Trap Jaw, He-Man and Battle Cat.
That hook won't stop He-Man. Then Trap Jaw will use his vicious claw. Still no contest. Then Trap Jaw will use his wicked laser. Even a one-arm army can't stop He-Man and Battle Cat. You win this time, He-Man.
Trap Jaw from the Masters of the Universe collection. From Mattel, the world's #1 name in toys.
So here I have a selection of Trap Jaws, and every single one of these suffers with that problem. All of the little loops on the top have broken off. As I previously showed you, this was my old attempt at fixing it just by putting a hook and eye piece in there and painting it black. It sort of works, but as I say, it's not perfect. And this is my latest go, and as you can see, that I'm really very happy with. It looks like the piece and it actually works very nicely. So that's what I'm going to be showing you today, and I will fix up all of these so that they can go back on display and look like they should have done originally. So how do we go about making this? Well, it's fairly straightforward. Let's just get constructing. And this is all you'll need. This is just an offcut of some 2mm thick black styrene sheet. I've shown this many times in all of my projects, and I keep a bag of all the offcut pieces that I use because you never know when it's going to come in handy. And really, this is all we need to fix. I think most of these, you don't need a great deal. I should be able to make quite a few of these new little loop pieces out of this. First thing we've got to do is mark off a 5mm wide strip, because I've just measured an original hoop here, and that is 5mm wide. So I'm just going to quickly measure that off, and then I'm going to draw on a rough version of the shape and drill a hole through. And once we've got that hole drilled through, we can then sort of start shaping it properly. But I'll show you the process as I go. So let's first up do this 5mm strip. So there you go, that's it. I've just basically marked the shape I want. Now I'm going to draw on it a semicircle. If we look at the original Trap Jaw head, you can see that the semicircle where the hole is drilled to is actually slightly thinner than the 5mm. So I'm going to draw a semicircle that's about 4mm across, and I'm just going to do this by eye. There's no sort of real need to do this particularly accurately because we will be shaping it and sort of fine-tuning it as we go. So a 4mm semicircle is drawn sort of about halfway up this line that we've drawn here, just so that we've got enough space to cut and shape it, and then yeah, we can start cutting and drilling. Something like that. It looks a little bit like a padlock. Now we need to drill a hole through this before we cut anything off, because it's a lot easier to drill holes when you've got something larger like this to hold. And we need to work out how big the hole needs to be. So here is my unbroken Trap Jaw, and I've got a 1.5mm drill bit in this, and I know that that fits quite nicely through there. 2mm is too big and 1.5mm is just about right. So this is the size of hole that we're going to drill through. And all you've got to do is sort of line it up with your little semicircle that you've already drawn on there, and then drill it through. This is a pin vise. I've got all the tools I use on this channel are listed on toy-polloi.com on the tool shop section. So if you want to see what I use, go there. There you go. It's that quick to do. There we have a hole drilled through just near the semicircle. Now I can start cutting this and shaping it. So I'm going to just score along the line that I've marked there, and then I'm going to use a pair of plastic nippers to gently shape this, and I'll fine tune it with a small file like that until I've got a shape that is about the right shape. And I want to leave a longer piece at the bottom just so that I've got something to hold on to. That's why I've not cut this as small as I need it finally. This enables me to have something to hold on to as I go. So let's get this cut out and start shaping. In only a few minutes I've managed to make 3 different versions of the little loophole, so you can see there, that's one of them. The others look pretty much the same. There's a little bit of variation in them just because these are quite tiny things to work on, but I'm very happy with how those look. So now we need to prep the tops of all of these trap jaws, because this one obviously has the little hoop that I put in, so I need to remove that. And some of the others have the remnants of bits of the hoop, so you can see there's a bit sticking up here. We actually need to remove that and file it down a little bit flatter. So let's get all of these prepared, then we can cut these to their final sizes and attach them onto the heads. With this trap jaw that I previously worked on, as I say, it's just a hook and eye sort of set up, so it's screwed in. All I've got to do is let's just turn his head around and we can unscrew that. So as you can see, there's a bit of a hole left where I put that in, but that doesn't matter. We will be working on top of that anyway. And what I want to do is actually flatten this down so it's a nice flat surface. The way it cracked off is most likely to be a little bit uneven. So I have here a needle file, and this is a square profile needle file. So you can see if I line that up, it's got a square profile. I can just use that to carefully file down this and make a nice flat surface. So I'll just get that flattened off just enough that there's a nice flat surface there, and remove any of the sort of bits of the hole from where I've previously modified this one. So I think that's looking good. There's an interesting thing to note with these figures. This is a French version of trap jaw, so you'll notice that the paint on his head, he's got a black line there, and the little loop would have been painted black. If I bring in one of these, which is one from Malaysia, I think, let me just double check on the back where that says. Yeah, that says Malaysia. You can see he has been painted with a grey paint, so there's different versions of trap jaw, and I'm sure many of you know that. I just thought it was interesting to point out. So we now need to prep this one as well. I'm going to get my plastic nippers out for this. I just want to carefully trim off some of the excess that's left here from when it snapped off, so I'll just trim that down. It should be quite soft plastic, which it is, and again I'll get my needle file and just carefully file it down so it's a nice flat surface to work with. I also need to do the same with the other one, which I can see off screen has the same problem, so I'll flatten that one down as well. You should end up with a nice flat area like that. That'd be perfect. Now that we have all of those trap jaws ready, we can modify these little loops to be their final shape. If I bring in an unbroken trap jaw here, you can see that's the final shape we're going for. So I need to trim off most of the sort of the excess of the styrene sheet and just leave a little bit on the bottom there, and then we can use some plastic weld to attach it onto the figure. So I can see from that pretty much how much I need to remove. We'll do the French He-Man first, just because that has most of the loop missing completely. So I'm going to again get my plastic nippers here, and I'll trim this down. I think it needs to be about that long. Just checking. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So let's go there, cut that off. And I do want to double check that this is nice and flat, so I'm just going to sand it, make sure there's no little bits sticking up. And we can do a quick test fit. So there is trap jaw, and I'll hold that in place. Yeah, I think that's going to look quite nice. Might be a little bit too long. No, actually, no, I think that's about the right height. So now we can plastic weld that into place. Plastic weld I've shown many times on my videos, so if you haven't seen me use it before, then check out some of my previous videos. I go on about it all the time. So let's open this up. I've got a brush here. I'm going to put a little bit of plastic weld just on the top there, just to start that plastic starting to sort of soften, and then we'll put some onto the new piece that we've made. So that again, this just starts to soften a little bit. I'll offer the two pieces up, and they should just about start to bond, and then we can put more plastic weld around once everything has started to sort of stick a little bit. It's not looking too bad at all. So there you go, it's pretty much stuck on. We'll put a little bit of plastic wire around the edge of this just to let capillary action sort of pull it in. And you'll also see with the rough surfaces that are left from sort of sanding, if you drop a bit of plastic wire onto those rough surfaces, it will just soften it off a bit and makes it look like it's sort of a nice finished piece of plastic without those rough edges to it. And there we go, that's not looking too bad. So I'll let that set and I will do the same on the other figures and attach the new little loops that we've made. Now the final thing we need to do to make the Malaysian version of the loop match up is to give it a quick coat of paint. So I've just mixed up sort of a few different paints because it's a light grey but with a little bit of blue mixed in. So I've used some Vallejo model paints. This is the white, then I have some black here, and I've mixed in a very tiny amount of this blue, which I think is called Andrea Blue 70.841, and that's given me a colour that matches this nice grey blue version of the paint. So I'm just going to quickly paint that. I'll also then give it a top coat as well of some satin varnish just to make it sort of match the final sheen that the original thing would have. But you can see that that actually doesn't look too bad at all. I'm not touching up all of the paint on this figure. I'm literally just going to be painting the loop that we've added, and then we can give it a bit of a test. Now that these are all painted, I'm really happy with how they look. It's very hard to spot that I've actually repaired these. The paint just hides all the final little blemishes, and you can see if I show you close-ups of all of them that they really do look the part. It takes a little bit of practice to sort of get the fine details looking right on these, but basically if you've got a small piece of styrene and some files, with a few goes I think you can easily make something that will do the job very nicely. But what we really need to do is to test that these actually work. So I'm now going to take these out into my garden. I'll set up a quick zip wire and we can see if Trap Jaw actually works on the zip wire like he should have done when you first bought him back in the 80s. So there we go, that is it for this video, and I'm sure a few of you will be asking why don't my trap jaws have any weapons? The answer is I don't actually have any weapons for my trap jaws. I've got one on display that I have the hook accessory for, otherwise all the rest don't have weapons. So I tend to do this with them, and that is use bits of Lego to make my own weapons. So you can see here these are a few bits of Lego to make a sort of propeller bladey type weapon, and I've got this one on the left which has got a sort of radar dish laser cannon type thing. So that's what I do with my trap jaws, because at the moment I don't have any weapons for them, and I think the Lego pieces look rather nice. If you've enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.